Hello children, how are you? This is Dr. Shweta Malani, your biology coach. Class 11, we are already doing. We have started chapter 3, Plant Kingdom. This is a fifth lecture on this chapter and we have completed till green algae. So the topic we are going to take today is brown algae and red algae. Okay? So let us go ahead with studying them. Before we go into studying brown algae, first we'll do brown algae and then we'll do red algae. Before we do brown algae, a quick recap at the general tabulation. ये जो आपका general tabulation है, giving us some key characters about these algae. Let us go through them because that way we'll be covering on many of the points. So if you look at brown algae, we will notice few things over here. First, this is a class. Class means I'm just revising it. We did it in the previous class. It is actually the kingdom is Plantae. Then kingdom के बाद आता है आपका phylum. So the phylum, but in plants we call it division. That was algae. And after that comes class. There are three classes in algae. One is Chlorophyceae, the green algae, and right now we are studying Phaeophyceae, that is the brown algae. Pheo means brown and Phyceae means algae. Since they are brown in color, we call them Phaeophyceae. So first we have studied the first table. It belongs to class. Kingdom Plantae, division algae and class Phaeophyceae, that is the brown algae. Now why does it look brown in color? Because it has fucoxanthine. Besides fucoxanthine, it has chlorophyll A. I told you in my previous class, chlorophyll A is universal photosynthetic pigment. It is found in all the plants. Besides that, it has carotenoids, which is also found in almost all the plants, and fucoxanthine. Now regarding fucoxanthine, I told you what is fucoxanthine. I told you जिस तरह से chlorophyll is one pigment. Take chlorophyll is that group of pigment which is green in color. Similarly, those group of pigment which are brown in color, they are called as xanthophylls. Right? The way chlorophyll has many varieties like chlorophyll A, B, C, D, and so on. Similarly, xanthophylls has many varieties. One of the most important variety of xanthophylls is your fucoxanthine. So fucoxanthine is nothing but it is a type of brown pigment. It is a type of xanthophyle. So since it has abundance of brown pigment fucoxanthine, it is brown in color. Stored food, since it's a plant, it should store starch, but here it is a modified form of starch called as mannitol or laminarin. It is either mannitol or laminarin. Mannitol or laminarin, you must learn it. Cell wall, of course, if it is a plant, it must be made up of cellulose and pectin. But brown algae, besides that, they have a special coating of another chemical known as algine. I taught you about this algine. They behave like hydrocolloids, right? Thus, they help in, they help in conducting many properties like, they are used in making ice creams, jellies, etc. I told you about a lot of them. Take now, next come to the flagella number and position. They have two flagella. They are lateral and unequal. I spoke to you about this one. They have two flagella and they are lateral and they are unequal. That is a characteristic of Phaeophyceae. And most important thing about their habitat, they are mostly found in marine waters and but rarely in fresh water. So if you go to their habitat, the place where an organism lives, they are not fresh water, rarely fresh water, they are mostly marine and they are found in brackish water. Brackish, I told you, it is semi-saline water, neither fresh nor salt. Intermediate is called as brackish water. And mostly they are found in salt waters. They can be attached to the substratum like this. You can have such brown algae or they can be on the surface and they are huge in size. At times they are so huge in size, they cover large areas of the ocean and such huge sized brown algae are typically called as kelp. They are called as kelp. So a quick revision of something about brown algae about which I had already taught you in the previous lectures. Keeping these points in mind, we will now go ahead into the brown algae. So one by one, sabse pehle we will come by the habitat here. So habitat, as I told you, they are mostly marine. This is about habitat. So I told you they are mostly marine. Very few of them are fresh water or brackish water, but mostly marine, and they are found at different depth, normally towards the top, but also towards the bottom. Approximately 1500 species of these brown algae exist on the earth. You can see they are such huge masses and they cover a large area of the oceans where they are actually found. Now next is their cellularity. I told you it is only green algae which is unicellular. Most of the brown algae and red algae are multicellular. So you can see them that these are large multicellular bodies. Often they reach up to 147 feet in length. 147 feet length. They can cover across the ocean floor or across the ocean cover. Thus they such large stretches of brown algae are often referred to as kelps. I will show you the diagram of some of the kelp. Now I just told you about the pigment. They contain chlorophyll A pigment, but besides chlorophyll they possess xanthophylls which give them this typical brown color. Now what is the color of the brown algae? Only the shade of brown varies. It can be less brown or dark brown or still dark brown, and that depends on the concentration of the xanthophyll pigment. As you can see over here, I have just for your interest, I am just showing you here. See, this is a shade card which shows how a little, this is green, but if you add a little brown to it, the color of the green will change. Similarly over here, if you see, the brown also has a lot of shade, and it all depends on how deep the color you are making. Similarly, they are also made up. You can see here many plants. You can see some of them look brownish, some look light green, some look dark green. That means the color, shade, it changes. In brown algae also it changes because of the concentration of the fucoxanthin. More the fucoxanthin, more dark brown it will look. Less the fucoxanthin, so obviously it will look more greenish because chlorophyll A is already there. Since chlorophyll A is already there, and if I try to mask this color of chlorophyll green by brown pigment fucoxanthin, more fucoxanthin I put up, the more dark the plant will look, and the less fucoxanthin I have, more the chlorophyll A will become prominent, so they will become little greenish to brownish. This is the color range which normally brown algae they exhibit. Now in this shape and size, I have been continuously telling them, some of them are very simple multicellular forms, like I can show you one of them. Here, look at this is a very simple brown algae, very little brownish, and this is called as ectocarpus. They are just small and filamentous like this, while some they are so big. I told you they cover large areas of the oceans. Then we call them kelp. One of the prominent type of brown algae which actually exists in the form of kelp is Macrocystis. I have also shown you the diagram of Macrocystis. It is also called as seaweed. Weed, you know that those unwanted plants which are harmful to you, they cover the entire ocean, thus making it difficult for our ships to sail across. They act as blockages, so we call them weeds, right? So this is about their shape and size. Next, let us see about brown algae. These are the parts of the brown algae. There is a diverse form. You know that the brown algae, they are the body is undifferentiated to root, stem and leaf, and such an undifferentiated body is called as thallus. So though they lack true root, leaves, stems, etc., but the structure is quite elaborate in case of brown algae, and it looks as though it has actually root, stem and leaf, but actually it is not differentiated into root, stem and leaf. Why? Because the entire plant is doing photosynthesis. It is just root-like, we call them holdfast. This is stem-like, we call them style. The root does not do the function of absorption. The stem does not have vascular bundles. The leaf, they do not have veins and veinlets, which is a typical characteristic of a leaf. So it just looks leaf-like, stem-like and root-like, and this is called as such an undifferentiated body is called as thallus. So we'll go through one by one. Such an undifferentiated body is called as thallus, and the entire thallus can do photosynthesis, as I told you. Going to the first part, that is root part. The leaf, okay, we'll start from the top. The leaf-like flattened portion is called blades. This is not leaf, this is leaf-like. It is normally called as blades. These blades are usually the main photosynthetic region. They do not have veins, so we do not call them as true leaves. Next, let us come to this thing called as float. You can very clearly see here at the base of this blade. This is the blade. At the base of it, it's little swollen. This is called as float. It is normally filled up with air, and it helps the brown algae float across water towards sunlight, thus approaching sunlight. If sun is here, it will float like this. If it is here, it will float like this, thus maximizing the exposure towards sunlight. Okay? Sometimes these float, they contain carbon monoxide as well. Next part from here you can see is the stipe. This is the stem-like structure which we call as stipe. This is not a true stem, as I told you, they do not have vascular bundles. Now let us come to stipe. You can see they are very long, they can be tough, green, and they also, this is the stipe, they help it attach to the blades. See the blade, the stipe on one end, they are actually attached to the blades. This is what it is saying. Then we will come to the next part, that is called as the holdfast. Holdfast is the root-like structure over here. You can see they are just root-like, since they do not do absorption. They even do not do proper anchorage, right? So they are just called root-like, but they are not true roots. Then the holdfast does not penetrate through the stem, and neither does it absorb water. It is just showing another diagram. I am just trying to show you how the holdfast looks. This is the holdfast, this is the stipe, and this is the blade, right? So these are really the part. So now the parts of the overall structure of brown algae is quite clear over here. Now let us come to the stored food. We read it earlier also. The stored food here is not a typical starch, but it is a modification of starch, which is called as laminarin or mannitol. The cell wall we have already done. The cell wall is made up of cellulose, but besides cellulose it also has algae, which makes it a phytocolloidal in nature. Protoplast contains plastid. Obviously, since it's a plant, it must contain plastid. Now coming to reproduction, since it is an algae, so obviously vegetative propagation by fragmentation has to be there. Asexual reproduction is normally by spores, and since it is aquatic, it is normally the spores are motile. Such motile spores are called as zoospores. And since abhi I told you about brown algae, that brown algae normally have, in general, they have two flagella, they are lateral and unequal. So even the spore and the gametes, they are the same. So you can see here, I have written here, asexual reproduction takes place by zoospore. Since they are motile, they are normally pear-shaped. You can see here, they are normally pear-shaped and have two unequally attached flagella. One flagella is long and one is short. This is how a typical spore in case of brown algae looks like, and this is called as zoospore. So this is about, first I told you about vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction. Coming to sexual reproduction, of course, sexual reproduction has to take place with the help of gametes. Now here also the gamete may be of three types. That means they may be of same shape and size, then we will be calling them isogamous, or they may be of the same shape but different size, then we will be calling that anisogamous, or we may have a large female gamete which is non-motile and a small motile male gamete, then we will call it as oogamous condition. So all the three types of gametes which are typically found in algae, they are found here. Now the next question arises is, where does fertilization occur? Now you have to listen to me once here carefully, because then we will moving on to the red algae ones. Okay. So where does the fertilization takes place? It's written, union of gamete may take place in water or within oogonium. I just want to tell you this. Now if we make a comparison between green algae, I'll first make the green algae, then I'll make the brown algae, and then I'll make the red algae. Right? So in green algae normally they are unicellular, right? And that sex organ which makes the male gamete, that's called as antheridia. That's called antheridia. And that which makes the female gamete, that's normally called as oogonia. This is called as oogonia. And in green algae, since the algae is unicellular, the antheridia and oogonia are unicellular, non-jacketed. The antheridia will release the male gamete in the outside water. The oogonia will release the female gamete in the outside water. And it is in the outside water, that is, the fertilization is external, where the two gametes then eat each other to form the zygote. Normally, the fertilization in green algae is external. In general, the fertilization in algae is external, but after bryophyte onward, the fertilization will be internal. The male gamete will actually move towards the female gamete. That is, the male gamete will move inside the oogonia, and within the oogonia, fertilization will take place. Bryophyte onward, all plants, all, without exception, all. But in case of green algae, the fertilization is external. But some of the brown algae and red algae, they have actually tried to make fertilization inside. So in brown algae and red algae, fertilization is both external and internal. It's both external and internal. So that is what I was just trying to tell you here. Ek to brown algae, they are mostly multicellular, right? So the antheridia and oogonia are also not unicellular. And the antheridia will form the male gamete. Right, the male gamete will be released in the outside medium, that is water, but the oogonia, particularly in the oogamous types, those who are oogamous, There, see, the female gamete is single, and it is this female gamete, that is the egg. This is found within the female gametangia, that is the oogonium. Okay? The male gamete is released in the water, and this male gamete via water it reaches the oogonia, and the fertilization is hence internal. Here the fertilization takes place internal. So that is what it is trying to say, that in some brown algae both the male and female gamete they are released in the water, so the fertilization is external, but in some of them the male gamete enters the oogonia, and within the oogonia the egg is fertilized. That means the fertilization may be internal, right? So the same is the case with even red algae. So what I am trying to say is that in green algae, normally the male and female gamete is fertilized outside the body. This is external fertilization. Jabki in brown algae and red algae, first they form they have sexual reproduction. They form all the three types of gametes, iso, aniso and oogamous. Normally in the oogamous cases, the fertilization is internal. However, fertilization may take place outside or external as well. So now let us try to see what we were reading. I was just telling you this, that union of the male and female gametes may take place in water within the oogonium. These gametes are pyriform, that is, you can again say even the gamete is pear-shaped and even the spore is pear-shaped. Both of them have two, flagella, they are laterally attached. This is something I wanted to insist in all my lectures, that whenever you study, the classification of algae, the type of flagella that is found in that algae, that will be found in both its spores and both in the case of its gamete. Since in brown algae we normally find two flagella, they are lateral and unequal, so such will be the case. The spores will also have, they will be motile, they will have two flagella. Even the gametes, they are normally motile and they have two flagella and they are lateral and they are unequal in shape. So this is about their sexual reproduction, and these are some common examples. Examples are very, very, very important in medical. They will actually come, they come too much. So I've just put up some important examples that are in your NCERT. One is laminaria. Easy to remember. I told you there is a food is laminare. So we have the word laminaria. Then dictyota. It looks something like this, dichotomously branched and fan shaped. Then this is fucus. Okay, and this is your sargassum. So these are your four common brown algae that you are expected to learn. Now that we have completed brown algae, I'll go to its economic importance. It is not given separately in your NCERT, but here and there are some importance. You read that many brown algae, they are edible, they are used as food. Two examples you had read, one was laminaria and the other was sargassum. I showed you the photos, the bottom two ones, they are normally used as food. There are 70 types of algae, normally marine algae, which are used as food. Two examples from brown algae, one is laminaria and the other is sargassum. Fucus and laminaria are its source of iodine as well. Yes, that is why what we say, seafood has a lot of iodine. So the people, they need not take iodine supplement. But those who live on land, mostly like people like us, we are not living near the shore. From where do we get iodine? Since we do not consume seafood much, we take iodine through salt. So government made it compulsory to have iodized salt. Otherwise, you would have started having thyroid problem. When you study thyroid, you study this as well. But this algae is a very, very, very good source of iodine, particularly fucus and laminaria. Then we read about algine, and we know that algine is used in obtaining emulsion like ice cream, ointment, toothpaste, etc. So these are some of the economic importance of brown algae. Now let us move to the last type of algae that we need to study, and that is your red algae. Now again, before going deep into the red algae, let us go for some of the common characters which has been tabulated in this table. Now we know it belongs to class Rhodophyceae. I am not going to explain you once again how we put it into it is kingdom Plantae, then division algae, and class is Rhodophyceae. Rhodo means red, Phyceae means algae. Since they have a predominant red pigment called as phycoerythrin and phycobilin, they have chlorophyll A. Right, I told you it's a universal photosynthetic pigment, but besides that, due to predominance of these two pigments, it looks normally red in color. Now, like any plant, it will also store starch, but it has a modified form of starch known as Floridian starch. The cell wall has cellulose, but besides that, since this contains algine, this contains carrageenan. It contains carrageen. I told you earlier also. Now this is something interesting. Flagella is absent over here. They do not have flagella, right? Since they do not have flagella, so their spores will be non-flagellated. The gametes will also be non-flagellated. Remember that. And what is their habit? They are normally found in, again, salt water most. It's written very rarely in brackish and fresh water. In salt water also they are found in varying depth. Some of them are found deep down the ocean, and some of them are found little where it is little warmer. Warmer means somewhere where the sunlight penetrates. Some of them are found towards a little upper surface, while some of them they are found deep down the ocean. So now that we have known this, we will go take up each point carefully now. So this is a red algae. First, its distribution or the habitat. I want you to look at this diagram to understand for yourself. Normally, how is their distribution? Now here, this is your. I'm showing this, ocean. This is the top of the ocean, right? This is the ocean, and I'm showing you the depth. So some of them they are found at a lesser depth where the sunlight does penetrate. That means up to 2 to 8 meter. But some of them they may be very deep down, up to 20 meter or much deeper down into the ocean. That means they are marine one, and they are found up to varying depths. Some of them are found towards the warmer seas. Warmer seas, why? Because since sunlight penetrates here, so the water here is comparatively warm. And the water after this is normally cold because the sunlight does not reach. So they are found in both the warmer waters and the cold waters. This is actually brown algae. This is the distribution of brown algae, and see how the brown algae is forming kelps. And this one, the one I am drawing with maybe blue color. This one, these represent your red algae. So this is about their habitat. So habitat mein likha majority of the red algae are marine. I know that, we know that. With the concentration found in the warmer areas, they are found both in warmer areas and the deep areas. They occur both in well lighted regions close to the surface and also at great depth in the ocean where there is relatively normally no light at all. So this is how they are distributed in the oceans. Coming to their pigments, I think this a body organization. Again, the body is not differentiated into true root, stem and leaf. Such an undifferentiated body is called as thallus. But the thallus is mostly multicellular, unlike algae which is unicellular. They are multicellular in nature, and the body is quite complex in many cases. You can see here from the diagram, some of them they have such profuse branching and the body looks to be so complex. Still, they do not have root, stem and leaf. They have root-like holdfast, the stem-like stipe and leaf-like fronds. The pigment here is, besides chlorophyll A, the pigment here is the predominance of the red pigment, phycoerythrin and phycocyanine. This is because of which the body color it becomes red. Besides, chlorophyll A is also there to do photosynthesis. Now, reserve food should be there. I think next, the reserve food, here is, it is Floridian starch. Floridian starch is something which resembles more like animals, storage food, that is glycogen. Less like starch and more like glycogen. So, this is how the reserve food looks like. Now, coming next is cell wall. Is made up of, like any plant, it is made up of cellulose and pectin, but besides that it has phycocolloid, carrageen, and this carrageen it helps in making ice creams, and many things like that. We spoke about it, like toothpaste, etc. Red algae mein, there are some red algae which have a calcium carbonate deposition on their cell walls. You can see here many red algae, it looks typically red, but the cell wall has calcium carbonate deposition that makes it little gritty, it makes it little stony because of calcium. One common example is corallina, okay, and they look like corals, thus they look like corals. Habitat is done, the body structure is done, the reserve food material is done. So now we will next move on to the reproduction. Now, in like any algae, the vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation. Asexual reproduction will be by non-motile spores. Because in general, the red algae, they do not have flagella. So obviously, the spores will be non-motile. Sexual reproduction takes place with the help of non-motile gametes, but then there is a condition called as oogametes as well. This point I really want to make you understand, emphasize on, because this is an exception. And then I will show you in the NCERT as well where this point has been written. What I want to tell you is, red algae shows oogamous condition. Now what is oogamous condition? Oogamous condition is one where we have two types of gamete. The female gamete is large and non-motile. So this is a female gamete and it is large and non-motile. So that's cool, we do not mind it. And the male gamete is, I'll write male over here first, is small and motile. Now when I say small and motile, small though I understand, but the moment I say motile, it must have a flagella. So normally we make it like this, the male gamete we make it like this. But in this case we cannot make it like this. Why? Because I told you as a principle red algae does not have flagella. Neither in the spores nor in the gametes, they just don't have flagella. So in red algae is an exception where the oogamous condition may, the male gamete is small and non-motile. This is an exception over here. The male gamete is small and non-motile and the female gamete is large and motile. It is oogamous, but this is an exception. Right? There are only few exceptions. One is here in algae, one there I'll teach you later in angiosperm. It's a oogamous condition. See how lovely. Oogamous means the male gamete should have been small and motile. But in red algae, they are oogamous, but they are still non-motile. So you have to understand and emphasize on this point that in algae, in red algae, there is no concept of flagella. They just do not bear flagella, be it spores or be it gametes. Some common examples, it's given those who do sexual reproduction with oogamous style, Polysiphonia and Porphyra. Porphyra is a very common red algae, very common. Porphyra is actually edible. You just go through Google, you Google it and you will see how some of the chefs they use this red algae. They'll make some beautiful cocktails and just put one leaf of this red algae inside just to give that beautiful red luminescent look. I just Googled, I was amazed to see how the red algae is being used as a food. And which red algae? Porphyra is the most common one. You have to go through some common examples and you have to learn these examples. One is Porphyra, the other is Gracilaria and the third is Gelidium. Please do remember this is how they look. They are all red in color. Examples are very, very, very important. You can put as many very as you want because from this chapter and the next chapter, the questions are mostly example based. How do the example questions will look like? Once the chapter gets over, once we discuss the past question paper, you will have a feel of how the questions are asked from this chapter. So now we move on to the economic importance. You know that in red algae, Porphyra, I told you about this. It is edible, it is really cultivated. People use it as a delicacy, they use it to prepare food. So they are used as food in many countries. And agar, I told you about agar in my previous lecture as well. Agar, I told you, is a chemical that's used in biology lab as well. This helps to make a semi-thick medium, and this agar is actually obtained from two red algae. One is Gelidium and the other Gracilaria. This is a very, very, very important question, particularly for not only for school but even, medical, but also for school. I can give you 100% guarantee that your teacher will set a 1-mark question on this, that name the algae from which agar is prepared, and that is Gelidium and Gracilaria. And this agar is not used just in the labs, but it is also used in cosmetics, making this, and also in labs as a culture medium for bacteria, fungi, etc. So with that we have completed the red algae now and we have also completed algae in general. Now that I am about to wind up algae, I just want to have another word on the life cycle. You know that in algae in general the life cycle is haplontic. I want to add something to that. I told you that the life cycle is of 3 types: haplontic, haplodiplontic, uska ek variant hai diplohaplontic and then diplontic. Haplontic life cycle is exclusive to algae, right? What it is, I have already taught you that. So here you can see my diagram, but here I want to add something very important, and that will become very, very, very important for your medical exam as well. So what do I want to add? You know that in algae the main plant body is a gametophyte, which is haploid in nature. It will form gametes, the gamete will fuse to form zygote. Since in green algae, this is valid only for green algae, because you know that green algae is unicellular, but many brown algae and red algae are multicellular as well, right? So those algae which are unicellular, that applies only to the green algae. Here what happens, the zygote itself behaves like a sporophyte. Why? Because the algae is unicellular and the zygote is also unicellular. The moment the zygote divides to form embryo, that becomes a multicellular structure. So since the algae itself is unicellular, the zygote behaves like a sporophyte. I taught you again and again, right? This behaves like a sporophyte. There's actually no multicellular embryo, so we call them non-embryophyta, and this will form spore which will form the gametophyte. And since here the majority of the life is haploid, so we call them haplontic. Here the question that arises that you should also ask me is, ma'am, this life cycle is applicable only to those algae which are unicellular. That means this should be applicable only to green algae. But in case of brown algae and red algae, there are some who are unicellular. So unicellular forms will definitely have an haplontic life cycle. But so what about those brown algae and red algae which are multicellular, right? So let us see, we have few examples over here. These examples, if you look at Ectocarpus, it says Polysiphonia. Then it speaks about kelps and fucus. First, let me tell you who's who. Ectocarpus is a brown algae. You must remember that. Polysiphonia is a red algae. Then kelp is a brown algae. Now these three algae which are multicellular, two of them are brown algae, Ectocarpus and kelp, and red algae, Polysiphonia, they do not have haplontic life cycle, rather they are haplodiplontic life cycle, because they cannot form a unicellular zygote. They are multicellular organism. Unicellular zygote can be formed only in unicellular red algae and brown algae. So multicellular red algae and brown algae, they do not have haplontic life cycle, haplodiplontic. See, there is another example of fucus. You know that fucus is again a brown algae. Now this fucus' other life cycle is diplontic, right? So you have to learn about these exceptions that are found in the life cycle in algae. So let me conclude what I am trying to say is, I just want to say in general the life cycle of algae is haplontic, because most of the algae, be it a green, brown or red algae, they are all unicellular. So the life cycle is haplontic, and the haplontic life cycle is characterized by formation of a unicellular zygote, which represents as sporophyte, because there is no multicellularity in these organisms. But I wanted to ask about those red algae and brown algae which are multicellular, so they cannot have a haplontic life cycle. So yeah, NCERT has quoted about some examples like Ectocarpus, kelp, these two brown algae and Polysiphonia red algae. It does not follow haplontic life cycle, rather the life cycle is haplodiplontic, and fucus, which is a brown algae, there the life cycle is diplontic. So please do learn these exceptions, especially for medical exam. This is very, very, very important. Now that we are completed with brown algae and red algae, we'll have a quick sneak peek into the NCERT to just see what is there in your NCERT. Right? Over to NCERT. So look at your NCERT. You can see here, this is about Phaeophyceae. The members of Phaeophyceae, they are called as brown algae. They are normally marine. They show great variation in size. Some are simple branch filamentous like Ectocarpus. Some of them may reach up to 100 meters. Then they have chlorophyll, carotenoids, but besides that they have xanthophyll. The color varies from olive green to various shades of brown. Why? Depending on the amount of xanthophyll, that is fucoxanthine, present in them. Now moving from there, the food in them is stored as complex carbohydrate, which may be laminarin or mannitol. Vegetative cells, besides cellulose, they have a gelatinous coating called albumin. Now the plant body is divided into holdfast, stipe and frond. The vegetative reproduction takes place by fragmentation. Then asexual through biflagellated zoospores. These are normally pear-shaped and unequal. Sexual reproduction may be iso and iso-oogamous. Normally fertilization may take place in water, that is external, or within oogonia, that is internal. Gametes are also again pyriform, pear-shaped. They have again two flagella. Common examples are Ectocarpus, Dictyota, Laminarin, Sargassum and Fucus. Now moving on to the next algae, that is the red algae. Members of Rhodophyceae are commonly called as red algae because of the predominance of red pigment phycoerythrin in their body. Now going by their habitat, we know that most of them are marine, but greater concentration is found in the warmer waters. They are found again on well lighted area or in depth. Thallus is mostly multicellular. They have complex body. The food is Floridian starch. This Floridian starch is more similar to amylopectin and glycogen. It is more similar to animal stored food rather than plant stored food. This comparative chart, we have already done it earlier. Now the remaining part of the red algae, this is till here we have done, page 34. Till the first paragraph we have done. Sexual reproduction is oogamous. And the common members are Polysiphonia, Porphyra, Racellaria and Gelidium. Right? So with that, the NCERT reading is also over. So as I always conclude my lectures by saying the same things that you have heard it, please after this, hear this video once again, try to pause it at strategic points, write down the important things, go through your NCERT, learn all the points and concepts, complete your portion till now, so that as we move ahead, you're already sorted out what has been taught in the past. And again, if you are new to my channel, I am very glad you found me. Please subscribe and press the bell notification for further upload information about further uploads, and please do express what you felt about this lecture by pressing that like button or putting your comments in the comment box. Study hard, as I always say, खुश रहिए, मस्त रहिए, पढ़ते रहिए. We'll meet in the next class. In the next class, we'll take up the topic bryophyte. Till then, thank you and goodbye.